Our reading this morning is a short prayer from Rabbi Arthur Voasco, who writes, "We are the generation that stands between the fires. Behind us, the flame and smoke that rose from Auschwitz and from Hiroshima. Before us, the nightmare of a flood of fire, the flame and smoke that consume all earth. It is our task to make from fire not an all-consuming blaze, but the light in which we see each other clearly. All of us different, all of us bearing one spark. We light these fires to see more clearly that the earth and all who live as part of it are not for burning. We light these fires to see more clearly the rainbow in our many-colored faces. Blessed is the one among many. Blessed are the many who make one." Here ends our reading. Now, it is a common misunderstanding that Unitarian Universalists don't believe in anything. That as a creedless faith, it's basically a free-for-all. And when one first encounters a place where theists, atheists, agnostics, and many more are worshiping side by side, I can understand why maybe that's the impression. But one of the first things I understood about Unitarian Universalism was that we believe in justice. We affirm the call laid out in Rabbi Voasco's prayer that it is our task, all of ours, to work for a more just and compassionate world. Now, that is not totally unique to us, as evidenced by the fact that this call came from a rabbi. Across time and space, faith communities have called their people to action in service of justice. But most of these faith communities have some shared understanding of and language for God or the universe that they can rally behind for this justice work. We, on the other hand, revel in multiple truths, in a plurality of belief, which is beautiful. It's one of my favorite things about our tradition. And plurality can sometimes feel a little lacking in explicit inspiration or direction for justice work. There are some shared understandings that many people find helpful. For example, at Ferry Beach, a UU camp and conference center in southern Maine, there is a beautiful outdoor chapel. In that chapel, there is an altar on which the words are carved, "God is love," in all capital letters. Now, for some in the community that I grew up in, this altar is a powerful sight, and its words are invoked in discussions of faith and justice. God is love. And this idea also is not uncommon in many UU communities, and certainly not exclusive to us. These words, at least as they appear on the chapel at Ferry Beach, originate in the first epistle of John, which states, "Anyone who does not love does not know God, for God is love." Now, many theologians from different traditions have used this idea to support their calls for the cultivation of a more just and caring world. But in UU communities, it can't always be assumed that we all believe in God, or that we all find that language meaningful. And even though I personally do believe in God, the idea that God is love has never really rung true for me. I believe God is the divine spark we each hold. God is the invisible strings that tie our lives to one another. God is the spirit of life which dwells in all. So growing up and hearing the words, God is love, I always sort of found myself shaking my head, feeling like there are many places in this world where I don't see love. But I believe deeply that God is everywhere. So if God is everywhere, in all things, then even in the most hateful, hurtful person who you cannot bring yourself to love, God is still there. When people with power choose to pass laws that line their own pockets but make it harder for the rest of us to live, I don't see a lot of love there. But my faith calls me still to see God in them, to respect their inherent worth and dignity. And further, there is so much in the world beyond the realm of human interaction, and I believe God must exist in the rest of nature as it does in us human beings. And there's so much in nature that doesn't feel particularly loving. When a volcano erupts, it fundamentally changes the landscape around it, killing plants and animals in the process. The animals in the path of the volcano, I can only imagine, feel intense fear and pain. And yet, that's just the natural order of things. Yes, we humans have created systems that cause pain and death on a massive scale. But even if we didn't, we'd still experience floods and droughts. There would still be sickness and accidents, all just as natural and necessary as love and beauty and new life in the world. It's easy to feel very bogged down by the inevitability of pain and suffering. And when we're a part of a faith community like this one, which insists we must decide for ourselves what to make of this broken world and these imperfect lives, there's a very inviting opening to complete apathy, to throwing our hands up and saying, the problems of this world are too big, too constant. There's no point in fighting it. In this overwhelming spiral towards apathy, I find myself turning not towards God as love, but towards American astronomer Carl Sagan. We are star stuff. I know I'm far from the first to feel the profound spiritual impact in this statement about the nature of the universe, but it never gets old for me. I am enlivened by the miraculous reminder that everything we see and touch and smell was, in some form, present at the birth of the universe. All I see is part of me. Incredible. Sagan reminds us that in the incomprehensible vastness of space, with all of its love and hate and beauty and pain, that we all come from the same source. Also, in his book, Cosmos, Sagan writes, "Every one of us is, from the cosmic perspective, precious. If a human being disagrees with you, let him live. In 100 billion galaxies, you will not find another." It is with this perspective from Carl Sagan that I am able to pull myself away from apathy and defeat and towards love and justice. The universe and or God has birthed these little individual pockets of consciousness, all of us, and we are each absolutely and unique and undeniably precious. And if I want to honor and love the universe and maintain my faith in something bigger than myself, I feel an obligation to respect and protect these unique expressions of the universe at all costs. Yes, the world is on fire. But as Rabbi Voskow reminds us in this morning's reading, it is our task to make from fire not an all-consuming blaze, but the light in which we see each other fully. I am grateful to be a part of a faith community that does not ask us to tamp down the flames, but rather to harness their energy in service of justice and compassion in the world. When I feel most inspired and empowered by our faith is when I see us joining arm in arm with people from different churches, people from mosques and temples and synagogues, and from no faith community in particular, all joining to demand justice. We are all living proof that you do not have to believe the same to work towards a shared vision, to work for a better world. As Unitarian Universalists, we may not have a single understanding of God or the universe, which explicitly calls us to justice work. But we do have the fundamental understanding that all of our paths to truth and meaning are valid, that we are made richer by sharing and supporting one another on these paths. We are made better and more whole by knowing one another. Maybe your divine spark is lit by a God of love, or the cosmic notion of star stuff, or any infinite number of blessed and inspiring things. The earth and all who live as part of it are not for burning. May we fight fiercely for love and justice in this world. And when the work feels too hard, when all of our marching and organizing and demonstrating and letter writing feels just like frantic sparks that never catch flame, may we find strength in the knowledge that the most precious thing we have to offer are these sparks. With or without us, the sparks of life will continue to fly. So may we continue to light these fires, not to burn it all down, but to see and to celebrate one another. Blessed be